Well, good morning, everybody. What's new? Ha ha, ha ha. I know, it's funny how not funny, ha ha, but funny, ironic how we often have such individual lives, but when there is a tragedy, when there is a disaster, when there is something of significant power outside of what we think is outside of us, how we have that shared experience. Before my talk, I want to just take a moment of silence for two things. One is for all of those who were not as unscathed as perhaps the majority of us in this room were with Hurricane Irma, those in the Caribbean, those who lost their homes in Florida, in the Caribbean, elsewhere, whose lives were lost, who lost family members. But additionally, there is some news that I wanted to share with you that Denise had shared with me this morning, and I know that many of you know that Reverend Allen's son had been in a car wreck several weeks ago and had been in a coma, and he transitioned on Thursday. So I'd like to hold Reverends Allen and Debbie and their family. If you'll join me. Oh. We reach out to the one power, knowing that we are connected and united in the most powerful force of all the universe, love. We send our healing thoughts to those affected by Irma, and we ask that you will be with the family of the Mosses, giving them strength, giving them peace, and helping them through this very difficult time. Be with all of us who have managed to find our common humanity again through the miraculous nature and the power and the force of nature. Thank you for the opportunity to come together in this communion. Thank you for the opportunity to be united and to grow and to learn and continue on this amazing journey of life. Oh, thank you for that. So, you know, these common bonds that we have with each other, these where were you whens that happen to us, we don't expect them to happen, and yet they do. And we all have stories that we share, as many of us were before all of you congregants came in. It was, what happened to you? Where did you go? Where did I'm sure how many dozens of stories and times have you done that with your neighbors, with your friends, and with your coworkers. And you got me good, Duncan? I think I might be a little bit of feedback back there. You guys okay with this? All right. So Sharon and I had a similar experience, obviously, but we had our dilemma being of, do we stay here? And of course, we've been through this now, all of us, for about 2 weeks. So a week ago, we'd already been through a week of watching this track of Irma coming up, and then you saw the three fork, right? Is it going to go up 95? Is it going to come up the middle? Is it going to come up Tampa? And trying to decide what would we do, because our choice, being in South St. Pete, was, do we stay through the eye of the storm with the strongest winds, and we have nine trees around our property. 3 of them are large oaks that would form a triangle. And even though we had neighbors on either side and across the street, my thinking was, well, if in the midst of that storm, one of those large oaks falls, I don't want to be in the middle of the house with the wind and the rain. The option, though, was to go up to Jacksonville, which is on the northeast quadrant then of the storm, because her parents, my in-laws, who are both in their mid-80s, we didn't want them to be alone through the storm. They have her older sister Paula there as well. But in case of electricity, we wanted to be able to be helping hands. And yet, that would be the northeast quadrant with the tornado, what do they call it? The Torcon 8, right? And heavy, heavy rains. We did make the decision to go to Jacksonville just to be safe, to be there with them. And of course, then we see now what has transitioned and transpired with Irma. But you never know what's going to happen. The day of, honest, how many of you had the Weather Channel on 24/7 like we did? We thought about it later and thought, we could turn this off or even mute it. And when we did, we'd still walk through the living room and then stop and watch it on mute. Literally 5 minutes ago, I had seen where Irma was, and I'm stopping there. Where is she now? Where is she now? Where is she now? It was an addiction, but it fed this anxiety. And on the day of the hurricane striking Jacksonville, which was Sunday, it was going to be Sunday overnight to Monday, we got a text from Sharon's mother. A text that kind of helped break through my wall of anxiety, because I started to understand then the lesson that Irma was giving to me. The text said, "Give Reuben a call. His best friend has just died." Reuben is Sharon's older brother. Larry is Reuben's best friend. Larry and Reuben were best friends, knee-high toddlers running around. They grew up together, and now in their 60s, Larry had a terminal illness. He didn't feel well. He was at home. And he called Reuben Saturday night and said, "Hey, bud, can you just, come over? I'm just not feeling really good." Reuben said he refused to go to the hospital. He stayed with him overnight. And at 7 o'clock Sunday morning, Larry got up to walk down the hallway, and he had a massive cardiac arrest, and he died in Reuben's arms. Sharon said, "We need to go see Reuben." And I thought, yeah, because in spite of the fact that we felt like we had this little block of time to get out and make sure we had all of our supplies and get everything ready, and oh my gosh, here was this hurricane, her brother was hurting at a different level, a level that Irma couldn't even touch. And that was the first indication to me that there is a stronger power out there than even the most violent of storms. As Sharon and I were preparing to pack up and go to Jacksonville, I said to her, we need to think about, in case these 3 trees happen to fall on this house and we have rain damage, what can we put together? And we're going to limit it to an overnight tote. Now, when I had said that to her the week prior, my beautiful wife said, "I can't fit everything I want to keep in a tote. Can't we put it in the barn, or can't we pack it up in the another car?" And I said, "No, we're just going to take just a couple of items." That day, however, she realized, no, we don't need all of this stuff. Did you guys go through the similar process? I don't need all of this stuff. So I looked around and I knew one thing that I really, really wanted, and that was my mother's Bible. My mother used this Bible every day since 1979, when her mother gave it to her. And it's her treasure chest. And in it, she has a variety of items that were dear to her. Cards that her mother sent to her, pictures of her mother, obituaries from different uncles and aunts that had passed. And this was my one thing that I wanted to keep, because when I hold it, I feel like I'm with my mom. I put it in a Ziploc bag, put it in the tote, and waited for Sharon to bring her items in so that we could zip that tote up and put it in the car. And she came and she said, "There's really only one thing that I found that I wanted, and that's this Waterford Crystal Super Bowl football." And it's not because it's a Waterford Crystal Super Bowl football from 2003 when the Bucs won. Woo! It's actually a gift that she had given to her friend George. George had moved to California since then, and he had come down with a terminal illness. And a few years ago, we got this in the mail from him because he was releasing things back to his friends, and he knew that Sharon would love to have this as a memento of their friendship. And every time she passes by it, she says, "I see George here. He died about a year and a half ago, but I see George here." This was again the reminder that in spite of a Category 5, 185 mile per hour storm with wind gusts up to 220 miles an hour, which did, boy, let me get the word, cause damage and death, it can't touch that bond between two people. The power that we have that stems from love is our power of choosing what we lend energy to, what power we give away. We even have power in giving away our power. Wow. As Sharon and I were heading home, my thoughts about that oak tree started to get bigger and bigger, and I have a friend who says anytime a negative thought comes up, she goes, nope, cancel, cancel, cancel. I was doing that from Jacksonville down to St. Pete. Cancel, 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 cancel. We get into 22nd Avenue, driving home, and I'm thinking, okay, the oak has got to be good. The oak is good. We saw how many countless oak trees that had fallen over from their roots, 10 to 15 feet tall, standing there. Amazing. Then we get on 22nd Avenue, and as we're heading home, we had to detour because there's an oak that has fallen 10 to 15 feet of these roots, and the whole of 22nd Avenue was blocked. So we went around, and I'm still going, oh, please, cancel, 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 cancel. We turn onto our street, drive a few yards until I can see our house, and I see 10 to 15 feet, a pile of branches, 10 to 15 feet long, on our front yard. Our neighbors had gone out. The oak tree was standing tall, but we'd lost a lot of very large limbs. Damaged the fence can be repaired. But they had gone out, and our neighbors had picked up all of these branches for us, and they would have gotten into the backyard, but I had blocked off the gates, hoping that the fence gates wouldn't, and they did anyway. But they did all of that for us. The next day, our next door neighbor said, hey, can I help you in the backyard? We had two neighbors across the street that had electricity. We were on the side that didn't, who said, if you need to charge your phones, if you need to have some, dry your hair, whatever you need for electricity, come use it. We did. We had another neighbor who gave us a large cooler so that another neighbor who gave us their ice stash that they didn't need since they had electricity could go into that cooler. We had another friend who said, hey, you don't have electricity, come stay with me. I have a condo that I just got the keys to. It doesn't have any furniture. It does have an air mattress, and you're welcome to it. Thank you. When we got electricity back and moved back in Friday, it was amazing to think of all of the people who had helped, and sometimes you have to choose to receive. But what struck me was, in spite of everything that had happened, we were willing to reach out to each other, neighbors helping neighbors, power trucks coming from how many different states to come and help us. I saw some guys from Missouri, from Kansas City, from Michigan, from Illinois. So why is it that in a major disaster, we come together, human being to human being, but somehow we tend to forget that outside of that tragedy? Why is it that that happens then? I have a theory. And I think it's because in the time of a great tragedy like that, everything is blown away. All of the social constructs that we create are gone. The false series of classes that we put there, the labels that we give ourselves to belong to this group or that, they're gone in a major disaster. When you think of 9/11, when you think of hurricanes or tornadoes or floods or anything that you've seen on national news or international news, earthquakes, tsunamis, what has that done? Nature has come through and said, I'm going to remind you who you are at the core of you. All of this can be set aside so that you can focus on that one source, and see the divine in yourselves again, and see the divine in each other again. That is a great gift. But it doesn't have to be hurricane force winds. We actually also have the winds of change happen to us daily, and we don't often notice it. These opportunities for us to recognize change and step into the newness of ourselves or into the reality of who we truly are happen all the time, but sometimes these winds are so steady but gentle that, like a sailboat, they just move you off course just enough that it's not until you're way off course that you go, whoa, how'd I get over here? I used to love my job. How did I grow to despise going into work every day? I made a vow to this special person to be with for the rest of my life. How did we grow so far apart? How did I find myself in this situation? Sometimes the winds of change are for the positive, but I think we notice them more when they happen to change what we think should be. So here's the power of choice, the power to intentionally see those moments every day, not just when large things like hurricanes and earthquakes and floods happen, but those times when we can see minute by minute what's actually happening and how we can intentionally be and show up in the world. This week there was a great daily word that I was like, oh, this is exactly what I'm feeling, and this is what I'm feeling that Irma is trying to teach me. Inner peace. I relax in the peace of spirit. I may find myself becoming anxious about something I saw or heard in the news, or maybe I engaged in another person's personal drama. Breathe, I remind myself. Spirit is in charge. This simple focus relaxes me and provides a moment for me to balance my thoughts. This is a choice point for me. In the intimacy of prayer, I let go of any negativity and immerse myself in the indwelling peace within my own consciousness. As my awareness of my own divine essence increases, my burdens lift, anxiety disappears, peace prevails. A gentle peace fills every part of my being. I relax in the quiet of spirit. I am inspired, directed, encouraged, and restored. I know what to do and when to do it. Now may the Lord of peace himself give you peace at all times in all ways, 2 Thessalonians 3:16. I love the phrasing that whoever wrote that used when they said a choice point. The choice point. How many thousands, if not millions, of choice points do we have every day that we can intentionally hook onto? Because we are the only beings as co-creators that have that choice point. It reminds me of Genesis or the Talmud and the tree in the Garden of Eden, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. I was raised to believe that was about wisdom, and I think that it is, but I also think that it's a metaphor for the power of choice. We have the power to choose how we will respond in any situation. We have the power of choice. We have the power to not do and not recognize. We have the power to choose poorly. We have the power to realize that we've chosen poorly and do something about it, or deny that we've chosen poorly. This is an amazing power. As co-creators, we have the power to create or destroy. Irma is a force of nature. Earthquakes are a force of nature. They do what they do. They're not intentionally saying, oh, I'm going to go mess with these people. They are. They just are. But we have the power to choose who we are. That is phenomenal. And yet, how often do we give that power away? In relationships, in environments, in situations that call for us to step into the power of our co-creator status. And what could we do together? And this is what always blows us away. Because when we do step into that power, all of a sudden we go, look at how everybody's working together. Everybody's helping. Neighbors helping neighbors. People helping people helping people. Why can't we continue to be that? That's our true power. That's amazing to me. And that's who we can continue to be. I had 3 thoughts that came to me about that power to choose. The power to choose is greater than any power happening to us. The power to choose is greater than any perceived differences between us. The power to choose allows us to get into the space to rebuild, to unite, and to heal. Change is an important part of our lives. It's a constant, really. We think of it as something that just happens now and again, but change is a constant. And change can either be a stop sign, or it can be a large oak tree that's fallen in our path. But either way, it's the opportunity for us to stop and say, who am I? Let me step into my power, and let me decide who I want to be in the world today. Wow. That is so cool to me. As we go into meditation, I want to share a little story with you that happened to me yesterday as I was taking a walk around our park near our house. And there were 25 to 30 power trucks that had gathered in the parking lot near the recreation center. And these guys, they were from all over. In fact, I don't think I even saw one Duke Energy. It was everybody from everywhere. And I don't even know what they do, but they were wrapping up coils and hoses and doing stuff and putting stuff away. And I could tell they were getting ready to get back out into the streets of St. Petersburg and turn on some more power. And as I walked by, there were two of them that were close to me. And I passed by and I said to the first one, thank you so much. And as I said thank you, I had this rush, and he said, you're welcome. And I passed by the next one, and I was so choked up, I almost couldn't say it, but I said, thank you. And he said, you're welcome. And I realized that the way that we can actually step into that power, the way we can make an intentional choice, is through consistent practice of the spiritual tools that we have. That might be through prayer. That might be through journaling. It might be through meditating. It might just simply be, as we heard earlier, to step into the silence and to be still. It might be through exercising gratitude, just to say thank you. This morning, as we go into meditation, I want us to focus on just one thing. Who do I want to be in the world today? It's simply a question. We will prepare, we will go into silence, and as we say that question, just mentally, we will then release it to the universe. So let's close our eyes, get comfortable in our seats, breathe, and release. Breathe in again, and release. Settling in our seats, being comfortable, just letting all thoughts go except for one.